Sometimes the path before us isn't totally clear. We don't see exactly where it's going to take us. Sometimes we only see it one step at a time. It's like the spotlight shines and says, oh, you can step here. And you take that step and you're standing there with one foot up in the air going, now where do I step now? And you don't know because you can't see past the light around this one. And then you'll say, oh, there's a light right in front. That's where I'm going to step. So it's one step at a time without knowing the ultimate destination. I really learned about this when my husband and I were trying to sell our condo. We had a condo with an ocean view from every room, and we had a brand new kitchen in it, and we put it on the market certain it was just going to sell right away because it was so desirable. The condo was on the market for 2 years without selling. And we were looking for a place to live. We felt like there was a roadblock, but we didn't know what to do. We couldn't do anything until the condo sold. And we really questioned the process, and even in a spiritual sense. And yet, at the end, when we sold the condo and when we found the home we were going to move into, it became very clear that there were certain things that had to happen before we wound up in the house where we were. First of all, the house was on the market at a price we would never have looked at prior to this because it was more than we can afford. When we sold our condo, finally after 2 years, in that period of time a close friend had died and left us some money that enabled us to have more of a down payment to afford a more expensive house. And then the house that we wound up buying was unbelievable. As we had been looking for houses, every house we saw was going to have to be completely remodeled, and I had said, okay, I want a kitchen with blue and white tiles, and I want to build a china cabinet where I can display my china. Imagine my surprise when we walked into this house and it had a kitchen with blue and white Austrian antique tiles. And then I rounded the corner, and in our hallway, what was to be our hallway, was a china cabinet where I could display my china. I knew that this was the house immediately. Still, it was a little more than we could afford, but we made an offer based on what we could afford. And what had happened just before we found this house was that it fell out of escrow at a higher price than we wound up paying for it. And the person who was renting there had, because the house was selling, that person had already moved. The people that owned the house had bought another house in New York and were desperate to sell the house because they had these hefty mortgage payments. Because we had sold our house when we did, we had cash, we could go through the sale immediately and close escrow before they had to make another house payment. And we got the house at something we could afford, at a price we could afford, a house that didn't have to be remodeled. It was just unbelievable. And looking back, it was just one step after another. And we didn't always see exactly why that wait was there. But in the end, it made perfect sense. And that's what happens on our journeys. Our path is not always clear. Sometimes we don't even know until we arrive at the ultimate destination. But we take one step at a time, doing what we can as it becomes clear that this is what we're to do.